I'm Adam Luz. I'm with Nilfisk Cleaning Equipment. We're the parent company of Advance, Clark, and Viper brand products. So we've got a couple machines here today. We've got from the district. So this is a carpet extractor. This is going to be an auto scrubber to wash the floor. And what we talked about today was just peak performance. What maintenance things can we do to the machine on a daily basis as an operator to keep the machine in good working order? So one of the things that we touched on was draining the machine out when we're done. So when we look in the recovery tank of the unit, we want to make sure that this is drained, that everything's rinsed out. We talked about using a bowl swab, so we call them a Johnny mop. We would use that down in while we're rinsing, keep the tank good and clean inside. When we remove the recovery tank, we talk about a machine that holds water on the clean water side. So this water, actually, unfortunately, in this unit has been sitting here for quite some time. The detergent that was mixed with the water has coagulated or turned to slime. So it actually has clogged our filter. We talk about how to clean the filter as well. We remove the filter and all the debris caught on the filter. In turn, if we were going to go and extract, we wouldn't have good spray. So we want to make sure that that's clean. How that stays clean is by us just simply draining the tank when we're done using it. That's imperative. At this time, this needs to be drained as well as rinsed really well to get all the floaties that are in the tank out and flushed. We talked about looking at these hoses to make sure that everything's inserted and assembled correctly. Otherwise, we won't have suction. So that's going to be really important when we're extracting, to have a good spray pattern and to have good suction. If we reinsert, we got down to the working end of this machine as well. The next step was we talked about maintenance. When we're done using the machine and we've extracted some carpet, we're going to be able to engage this lever. We can remove the vac shoe, and then we really look at the working end of the unit. And here we've got hair and lint and everything clogged in the vac shoe. And what we've lost is we've lost suction. Just like if I held my fingers and we extracted, we didn't have suction over a portion of this vac shoe, and in turn, we would see that there was streaks in the carpet as it dried. So we want to make sure we're able to remove this and clean this out so we can keep the machine giving us the top result that we're looking for. If we move from the vac shoe, we're going to look down here at the brush. Okay, I'm going to step around to the side here. The brush is able to be removed really simply. We're going to grab and pull, and we can clean this out really well, and we can clean the underside of the machine out. We can make sure that the bearing is spinning on the end, that there's no hair. And what's demonstrated here is there's a lot of hair in behind this bearing, and we want to clean all this out as well. Okay. Now, when we park the machine and we store it, we want to have the brush off the floor. On this side of the brush, this machine had the brush sitting on the floor, so I'm going to reinsert that, and we talked about this in the training as well. Let me get my glasses. There we go. Okay, so we've reinserted here. We're going to reinsert the vac shoe quickly. Just put the hose on first, clip it back in, and then we're going to put the machine into the operating position. And I'm going to demonstrate when we store the machine, we want to make sure that we've engaged this lever and we lift it off the ground. So now that brush is up off the floor so those bristles don't get flattened out. And that's going to create a better cleaning position. So we're going to engage down on the lever, or we can step on it with our foot to put it into the operating position, and then storing it, we're going to raise the brush up off the floor. So just a few simple steps, and we can make this machine stay in good working order, and go and do what we need to do. Okay? When we move over to the auto scrubber, similar rules apply. Machine holds water, obviously, so we definitely want to drain and rinse it. Clean the tank out. And, in a demonstration here is this unit had water sitting in it for quite some time, and it's not very rinsed, right? So we can see that we've got a lot of debris in the catch cage and that this hasn't been cleaned in quite some time. This all can stay nice and clean. Even though dirty water ends up here, the end of our shift, we would want to make sure that we're rinsing out really well, getting this good and clean so that it's ready for the next day's use. We can also leave the lid set open as the machine's charging so that tank can dry and air out, okay? So that's really important. The dirty water goes in the top tank. The clean water is on the bottom though. We have a dark gray tank here on the bottom. We want to drain that tank out as well. It's fresh water that goes in there, but if we leave it sit for quite some time, as this one has been, it will get a little musty as well, and you can see that indicated on the hose in the back. So we can actually use this as the drain for the clean water tank, and we would clean that out and drain it, and again flush some, perhaps even some bleach water through the machine to get that cleaned out. Okay, so we talk about draining the hose, draining both tanks out. Down at the working end of the machine as well is the squeegee. So there's 2 thumb screws. There's one on both sides here. We just loosen those up and we can remove that squeegee. And this is really important working into the machine. The squeegee blades do wear. This is a nice sharp edge that this particular blade has on it, but you may see the blade material wear away and get rounded off. And in that case, we would be loosening the thumb screw out at the edge. We would remove the band and we would flip the squeegee blades over. Typically, this may be something that's done quarterly. Depending on the usage and the floor type that we're scrubbing, it could be every 6 months or every quarter that we would flip those squeegee blades. They have 4 edges, so we can use the top side down to the floor on the front and the back. Similar with the rear blade as well, there's a band on the back here that you would remove. You can actually see some wear. They have flipped this blade, so there's a good edge on the front. The back side of the blade has actually been worn down from previous use. So that's going to be really important. Keep this good and clean, and then we can reinsert that as well. So we want the floor to be good and dry when we're done. We put fresh water down with some cleaner, we agitate, and then we're extracting it up into the recovery tank so the surface is clean. So those were some main points. From a battery perspective, we do have some maintenance to the batteries of the machine on any battery operated piece of equipment. You can see in this unit, we do have some wet filled batteries. We do remove these caps. This cap here would be removed. We would add water into those chambers. There's 6 chambers that would take water. We would also like to see the batteries be good and clean. So we may want to wipe these down, a little baking soda, water mixture, wipe them down and keep them good and clean. We can also see our detergent jug is underneath the recovery tank here. This is a jug that we can actually put our neutral cleaner or our disinfectant of choice. We can put the concentrated product in this jug. The machine then proportions it for us. The mixtures are set, already programmed on the machine so that we're mixing the right amount of water with the right amount of disinfectant cleaner to properly sanitize the floor. So those were all points that we talked about as far as an auto scrubber would go. And then we moved on to, we've got a wet dry vacuum here that's used for project style cleaning to suck up water. You've got a front mount squeegee here on the front of the machine that we want to make sure is cleaned. You've got the hose that comes up into the recovery tank. You want to make sure that that is removed and water is flushed through that from a maintenance perspective. And you've got again a machine that holds water. You've got a machine that holds water in the tank, and we want to make sure that that is drained out when we're done using it as well. And that hose is on the back of the machine here. We would put that down into the drain and drain it. The top of the machine comes off. We can get in and rinse the machine really well. These clips here, and then we pull straight up on this lid. And we can see that we can rinse that easily. And we've got some water in there as well. I mean, this is, how the machinery was brought to us. So these are all important steps that everyone should be taking individually so that we don't have equipment that just is not performing for us when we need it. Okay? I appreciate your time. I appreciate your support of Advance and of Nilfisk product, and we'll talk to you all later. So the other aspect with this too, you have the ability for a spare bag on board the machine. So you can take this with you. If it does fill up, which what we're intending on it to do is get full while we're out using it, you don't have to stop. You've got the bag with you. So those are some neat little pointers. Now, as far as speaking to a clog. Now what do you notice about this bag as well, just while we're here? Yeah, that's a problem, right? That is why we have these filters, and look at that filter. It's catching the debris and protecting your vac motor because we have a tear in the vac bag. So again, these are things that you want to inspect and look for to keep everything running correctly. Now, on the top, this is not a power indicator light. This is actually a red light that will come on if we have a clog, right? Or if the bag is full. So we check the bag, we replace the bag first if we have a light come on. If that doesn't take care of that light, then we're gonna wanna go ahead and remove the hose, and we're gonna start to troubleshoot a little bit. So we have leaves, we have staples, things like that that we might vacuum. I can look down this tube and see that it's clear. I can look down that tube simply and it's clear. So if we've replaced the bag and now I've cleared those lines, I know that if I have an issue of a clog, it's down here in the base, right? So we made this a slinky. So again, this is where typically that debris might get clogged, and the idea here is it's straight. We could get something down in and push the debris out the bottom. The brush roll twist, cap comes off. Typically the brush roll comes out. It doesn't in this case because it's so clogged with debris, right? So when we're cleaning carpet, we end up vacuuming acres of carpet with this machine. The bristles will wear, we get hair fiber and things like that. We make it easy to take off so that we can maintain it. We can replace it as well, and we'll get it to work like a new machine. Just because these bristles are being worn down, we get a new brush roll on here and the performance goes up.
Mr. Adam, what's the best tool that you could use to clean that?
If you're a seamstress like George is, he grows out of his pants quite frequently. He's
yeah, that too.
You can use a seam cutter, or you've got a blade. But yeah, it's nice to get in and just pull that fiber off, and keep this good and clean would be the idea. And then again, with that out, if we had a clog, we can easily reach in, we can get it cleaned, or again, if we've got something that we can push down and get that debris out, that would be ideal. So real quick, way to take care of things. Now, if you're vacuuming the carpet and you're going over an area and you just don't see the debris coming off the floor, typically it's because this brush is wearing. The difference between the two vacuums, this is actually even more worn than this one is. If I put the two brushes together, I can see that there's a difference in length. A machine can be a good unit, yet it's just the bristles wore and it not perform well. So instead of continuing to do what we're doing and making noise but not being efficient at cleaning, just get a new brush roll on it and it will make quick work of anything.
Just to replace the brush roll, how much does?
How much is that brush roll? It's probably a $10 part. $10 part, and I mean, if we're cleaning for an hour with the vacuum and it's taking us an hour and a half, it quickly pays for itself. So again, you're just looking, you can see that it's really worn down and there's a lot of dirt in it as well. But so again, we're just lining this brush roll up, and then we're quickly able to put it back into position. So again, a little bit of maintenance can go a long ways with all these that we talked about: the extractor, the auto scrubber, wet dry vacuum. We talked about some simple things that we can do to just drain, rinse, clean, keep these machines in peak performance so that we can go out and do what we need to do. Okay?